Good evening, everyone. Today is August 22nd. The time is 6 p.m. and this is the Acushnet Planning Commission. This meeting is being recorded for future viewing on the town YouTube page. Can I get a motion to open the planning board meeting?
Motion to open the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can we introduce ourselves? Pete?
Peter Guyup, member.
Steve Boucher, member.
Mark Francois, chairman.
Ryan Deschamps, member.
Rick Ellis, vice chairman.
Victoria Alfaro, town planner.
Okay, moving along. Minutes. Haley sent out the minutes to the August 8th meeting. We were all present at this meeting. Has everybody had a chance to look everything over? Any comments, questions, concerns?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as read, as written, excuse me.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, fabulous. Okay. Discussions and other topics. Discussion and take action relative to a vegetative screening cash surety for Robinson Road. The proponent is Nexamp Inc. So, last week we discussed this in some detail, but to kind of bring everybody up to speed, the Conservation Commission had made a vote on this prior. There was a mix-up they shouldn't have, and in their last meeting, you all have it in your package, they rescinded their vote for the said sureties. So now that's been taken care of. There is nothing with conservation. Last week when we had discussed it, we had basically the only issue was to make sure that the permit screen was removed after the 5 years and that it was all cleaned up. After discussion with the town planner, I think the one thing that we can do is basically make a condition that get done prior to the end of the 5 years. And we make it a condition of the cash surety. Like I had said, it cost them $75,000 or $76,000 to put in all the plantings. It was another $16,000 for the screening for approximately $91,000 total. In my opinion, I don't know if we need all 91,000. The odds of all the plants dying are slim, but we do need a good amount for cash surety in case anything happens. Gentlemen, thoughts?
I think we also discussed that, I mean, it's just gonna cover any ongoing maintenance, cutting the grass and all those other things, if they don't take care of it?
Yes.
The surety?
Yes, yeah. I mean, we call them, we get on them, we remind them to keep everything neat and cut and clean. A few of the solar farms in town have been a little slow to get on a maintenance program, but that is something that the town planner and the building inspector, Andy, are on all the time. He's the enforcement agent, so he's constantly on them, and I think eventually they will do it. And if they don't, yes, this can be used for that as well. I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to require $50,000 cash surety for vegetative screening with the condition that the surety will only be released after 5 years and the permit screening is removed.
We have a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay. Moving on. Next is an informal meeting, Hartley Street, map 18, lot 27. The applicant is Ben Reese, represented by John Romanelli and Zenith Land Surveyors LLC. The scope of the work, a roadway improvement to a way in existence prior to the subdivision control law. I saw John Romanelli, and he just stepped out a second.
I'm Ben Reese. He just said, I gotta get my glasses. And just ran back to his
We'll
car.
give him a second to get his glasses.
Thank you.
And in the meantime, gentlemen, you have the plans in front of you.
I think he's been in front of us before about this.
He has been in front of us before about this, yes. John, you're up.
I had to run out and get my glasses because I am blind as
I
a bat
hear you,
these
I'm with
days.
you.
Still not used to it.
I've been wearing them for a couple of years.
Just borrow this real quick.
Yeah, of course.
Victoria, nice to meet you, by the way.
Oh, nice to meet you. I know we've never met in person, but nice to
Welcome,
meet you.
welcome.
Thank you.
I want to make sure you guys can see it as well. The camera as well.
Yeah, you gotta point this towards this camera here behind you.
I have a.
Good?
That's fine?
I got it right there.
So just point it right over here.
Really?
I'll turn in a second.
Okay.
You can see it?
No, they can't see.
Okay, I'm
Just
sorry.
turn it.
I have extra plans.
He said he could see it on the camera. There's another one over here somewhere.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah, no, he's
There
just
it
trying to
goes.
get
Oh,
everybody.
yeah.
Oh, there it is. Beautiful. So it is up on the screen. Okay, for the record, my name is John Romanelli of Zenith Land Surveyors in New Bedford. I'm here representing my client Benjamin Reese, who's looking to purchase a vacant piece of property at the end of Hartley Street in Acushnet. Hartley Street is a private way created prior to subdivision control law. There was a plan created in 1922, I think it was, that created Hartley Street going from Nye Lane in both directions, north and south. What Mr. Reese is trying to do is improve, and again, this is a preliminary plan, so we're looking for discussions. I'm not holding anyone for answers tonight, but just to get some feedback as to how he should proceed. To get from Nye Lane to the created frontage that we created, and by the way, it's there's 40 feet across Hartley, which isn't enough to create a buildable lot, so we created a hammerhead turnaround with a created frontage of 219.91 feet. So by pushing Hartley Street through into his property, he would generate enough frontage for zoning and 150 required 150 feet of frontage. After creating that hammerhead turnaround for emergency vehicles, he ends up with a total area of 71,082 square feet, so it's above the 60,000 required. He does meet the building box of 150 zoning box I showed on there. There are some wetlands to the west, where it kind of butts into the city line of New Bedford, which is, as you can see, is that dashed dot line coming right across. So the whole property is in Acushnet, but it does directly abut Sunset Way, these lots on Sunset. So we created the zoning box, so we've got the 150 by 150 box, showing the, and these wetlands were picked up on my field guys. They weren't delineated by the botanists at this time, but they said it was pretty evident that there were wetlands back there. So I had them located. It still gives us an upland area of almost 60,000 square feet. Again, it's above what we are required for upland area. So what Ben would like to do, and I know we've had similar situations in town where Dan Menard from DPW would always require some type of a paved apron, but from that point forward, Ben is looking to create a gravel right-of-way of 20 feet in width. I did have my guys shoot the topography, and I put a little profile together here. The center line, it's a little bit exaggerated, but basically, it's if you held the elevation of Nye Lane to where he dead ends 581 feet away and cut a 1% slope, everything is flowing in that direction from north to south to his property. But he's looking for feedback as far as can he go forward with a gravel right of way of 20 feet? Is it something that the board would be amenable to? As long as we show the paved apron at the intersection of Nye Lane. So that is basically it
So,
in a nutshell.
if I may,
Please.
looking at what, if I'm reading this correctly, Hartley Street is not constructed as of, right at the moment?
It is not. It is thick. You could probably walk maybe 100 feet before you hit a wall of brush and whatnot. It is very thick from there all the way to the property line.
So, is this a paper street by chance?
It's a private way in existence, private subdivision control law, 40 feet of width.
Yep, it's a paper street. It abuts our property,
Yes.
White Sanders.
Is there anybody else serviced by that road?
No,
No. No, there are
No,
two
south
houses up
side
here
lot.
that are on that front on Nye Lane, but no, nobody else would,
Yeah, on the north side there is, but not on this side of Nice Lane.
right. So no, it would basically be servicing 581 feet of gravel road for
One
one lot.
lot, one lot.
Owns map 18, lot 24J. That's on Alston Street right now.
That's the one,
Which one do you own?
this one here.
No,
Ben.
They own 27.
You know,
24A is John Pereira. Owns 24J and 24C.
The same person owns 24C and 24J?
Yes, yeah.
I-
He owns the
we
property
own
on the
20.
Bedford side as well.
Okay.
Jay, we don't own.
Yeah, that's actually, if you just want to take a quick look, that's the plan that created Harvey Street back in 1922.
But it is a paper street.
Yeah, so I understand your question, Mr. Ellis, that 24J is going to benefit by that. That is John Ferrero, who lives in New Bedford on Jocelyn Street. He also owns... And lot 25 is owned by Lucy Camara and Hermano?
Yes,
That's you?
the Camaro
Camara
family.
family? Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot to call her. Did you? No, I forgot to call Lucy.
If it goes to the next step, everybody's gonna get notified of a hearing. We just kind of wanted to get some feedback and see. Any other questions or comments or?
All right, basically what we have is just to be,
It's a one-lot subdivision, basically.
back, what's that?
It's basically a one-lot subdivision on a private way.
Yeah, it's a private way, it's been dormant for many years. We've had other instances recently that find out that it isn't what it is, and ownership becomes of that strip of property. I would highly recommend that he be certain that he's got rights to
Yeah.
open it back up again. I
To
guess
kind of
that's what-
piggyback on what Steve is saying, he would need some kind of something legal in writing, a lawyer or something legal saying that he has the right
Do this.
to do this, to use that paper street.
Okay.
And because he is creating frontage, it would definitely have to be a Form C subdivision application. Rick?
It's, these things are always interesting. I mean, we've got quite a number of streets like this in town. I'm reading the KP law update at the same time here, and I don't know, it's a tough call. The state is obviously trying to encourage a lot of these outlying lots to be able to be built on. There's one of the things that is going to supersede the doctrine of merger of non-conforming lots and make them separate buildable lots. We've got this other thing for accessory dwelling units. I mean, technically, it's a paper street laid out prior to subdivision control, I imagine, like the rest of them. I mean, the letter of the requirements, as I know them, say Form C subdivision for roadway improvements of these streets. That said, there have been quite a number of instances in town where these back lots have been built on, sometimes with planning board input, sometimes without. It becomes hard to say where the line should be drawn.
Yeah, again, we've gone through this before with paper streets. A lot of times with paper streets, the abutters, one abutter owns 50% of the road, the other abutter owns the other 50% of the road.
That's right.
Again, we would need something from a lawyer saying that
He's got the right.
he's got the right to do this.
Very good.
And the board also, and you have to take into consideration that you are building a private way, but now you're opening the door for map 18, lot 24J to use that. So now not only is it one house that's going to be using that road, but possibly two houses going to be using that road. Don't know if map 24C has frontage on Nyes Lane, but if he doesn't, then now we're talking three houses that are going to be possibly using that as frontage and as that road as their private way. That has to be taken into consideration. I know that, I think that, could you please just tell us where your houses are on this map?
We're on Oak Street, but our lands abut that.
Oh, she's back in here, right?
To the right more.
Can't read
That's
that.
okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
This is where we are on Oak Street, and we abut New Bedford all the way. They have tried to purchase our land here, cut across here to get to their land. I don't know how many letters I received, and knocks at my door. And we are convinced, because of the wetland that we have, that we're getting a lot of the flooding in our cellar, which we have. Because there's wetland, we're bordering wetland all along the New Bedford area, and that's all wetland, you can't touch that.
Yeah, no, he has that on his map,
Right,
saying that
but
this
by-
corner has wetland on it, yeah.
But our fear is by building, we're gonna get more of the influx of the flood.
Well, if this moves forward, they would have to go through conservation, then, he'd get the wetlands and he'd get the whole property flagged out to see where the wetlands are. And-
Yeah.
If they are there, he says that he shows it there. Now, depending on how much
Yeah.
there is, if he still has the same 150 by 150 square buildable size to build a house, and it's upland, it's considered upland by conservation, then there shouldn't be any added flooding to them or to you or to anybody if conservation.
It's a big fear for us down our street.
Oh, it's a big fear for everybody, yeah. But
And especially where we're on a quarry, and that's all it is a ledge underneath there.
right, that's most of Acushnet is all ledge, yeah. But yeah, I mean, if this goes forward, they're definitely gonna have to get it flagged. Conservation will get involved, and again, if there's wetlands, if there's too many wetlands, then obviously they can't build. If But if he only has the amount of wetlands that he has there, and he still can show that he has the amount of upland to build, then technically they should be able to build. Again, but the next step is, and I think his biggest hurdle is gonna be the abutters that abut this piece of property.
And she's one,
We live at 18 Nice Lane.
and
And
I'm
we own
one,
the two lots
and the
behind us.
gentleman that's here, that butts my land, as well as Frank. This is Joe and Frank. They were working today, because when I got notice of this, then I ran over and told them, and they're in this property area and they're abutting.
Well, like Mr. Romanelli
Right here.
said, if he does end up filing for the Form C subdivision and he moves forward with this, all abutters within 300 feet would get notified. It would come back in, and then it would be more of a detailed set of plans
Thank
that
you.
he would present. So
Okay.
this is a
Conceptual.
beginning. This is a beginning kind of steps. They're here to find out what the board thinks they should do and shouldn't do, and to hear from you all to see what
Our
your thoughts are, your
concerns.
concerns are.
Yeah.
And again, wetland is a concern with everybody, and if they end up disturbing more than 40,000 square feet, then they would fall into the stormwater bylaw. So there's a lot that is involved. This is just the beginning stages.
Oh, I feel so much better.
This is just the beginning
So
stages.
much.
And opening
It's a
up
little
that,
frightening.
And I totally understand, and for the record, can I have your name and address
Yes, right now?
right now?
All right, my husband is Barry.
Yep,
I'm Elaine Williams.
okay. and your
We live
address?
at 15 Oak Street in
Perfect,
Acushnet.
perfect. And you folks?
Arnold and Margaret Motta, we live at 10 Nice Lane.
Perfect, thank you so
And
much.
that's, butts,
But,
that,
yep,
Hartley
yep.
Street.
Again,
Right,
I'm
on
glad
the
you're here,
side.
I'm glad you're here to give your input.
Thank you.
And obviously, everything is taken into consideration. But this is the preliminary steps. They just basically want to know what they need to do next.
Okay.
If they do move forward with this, everybody in the I think it's 300 feet around that property will be notified of a public hearing, and they'd have a much more detailed set of plans, and then you'd have, again, your turn to voice your opinion, and we'd have a better look at what they can and cannot do.
Could I ask you a question? How wide will that road be?
So on paper, it would be 40 feet on paper, which it is today, is 40 feet on paper,
Okay.
but it would be 20 feet of gravel, which technically 20-foot gravel road is an ample size to, for 1, 2, or even possibly 3 houses. 20-foot gravel, again, we would have to vote on it, but I think 20 feet gravel, I think, would be
So there could
sufficient.
be 3 or 4 houses back there.
I don't, by the looks of this, I don't know about 4, but it is possible that.
And that would be the only access to get in and out of that cul-de-sac in a sense.
Yes,
no other
yes, there is
Okay.
it's not a cul-de-sac, there is a hammerhead turnaround at the very
Okay.
end for emergency vehicles.
Okay.
And that's what they would use for emergency vehicles to turn around. But they do need to take that into consideration, that there could be 2 other houses using that road, yes. But he would need to get something in writing saying that the abutters of all of these properties are not partial owners of this road, and that they have the legal right to upgrade and turn this into a gravel road. That's,
If they put a road over there, ain't gonna have much of a side yard.
well, it is a paper street, so technically it is a paper street. So now if you've built onto that paper street, I don't know what the legalities are regarding that. Again, they would need to get,
So I'm curious, where are you on this?
We're on Nice Lane.
Is this you right here? This is Nice Lane coming from,
Okay,
this is their
and where's
Becker line.
Hartley?
This is Hartley right here. This is the lot we're showing on the plan, this 27.
Okay.
Okay, so
And Ellen is over here.
this is where you're gonna open the street, right?
No, this
No,
side.
that's Santos on
Oh,
that side.
that's
We're
it.
right here.
Oh, okay, you're on the
Okay.
corner.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And that already, and then many years ago, they combined the 2 lots together with our property, remember?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're on the corner of Nice and
Nice
Hartley.
and Hartley,
Okay, great.
the south one. We're just looking to see. Yeah.
Please, sir, go
Oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, on that back, on the New Bedford line, along the New Bedford line and up in that area, all water that runs down.
Yeah.
So it's loaded with water.
Yep, he has that on his map,
Okay.
that he has it all wet in that corner,
Oh,
he does.
The whole area in there.
Yep, he's got that there. Again, it's a fairly large lot, so if there are wetlands in a river or whatever in that corner, which
Yeah.
he's saying there is, which
Yes.
there probably is,
Yep.
as long as he still has enough upland to build a house and doesn't disturb that wetland area, then nothing should change from what's there right now.
I got you.
Understand?
Okay.
You can never touch it, can't go in it, can't move it, can't do anything, and it shouldn't change what is happening today.
Yeah, because all up and back of mine, it's all wet that runs down from, down the street in the back. The
Right,
whole area along, Pine Drive, is it?
right.
That runs all the back line right down, the water.
Now, what I'm not sure about, with the new stormwater bylaw that we just adopted, if he were to, if he's gonna clear out this whole road, and it's more than 40,000 square feet, then he would fall under the stormwater bylaw?
I believe so.
So, that's something to look into, John. Again, stormwater is under conservation. But I think, if I recall correctly, if you're disturbing more than 40,000 square feet, it falls under that, and then you would have to go under all of that bylaw as well.
So 20 feet of gravel by the 521 feet, it works out to like 10,000
Right, I
square
was
feet.
gonna
of
say, it's
disturbed
gonna
area.
be somewhere around 10
So
to
we should
12,000 square feet.
Okay.
Pretty well below the
Yeah.
40.
Okay.
But obviously, I'll have Jamie Arnalds from Zenith Consulting Engineers present an engineered plan. Again, they just
Yep.
asked me to come forward tonight to
Yep.
get feedback and see
Yep.
what, obviously, we have some concerns with the neighbors.
Yeah, some wetland concerns, which is understandable. Let me just shoot it at the board. Does anybody here on the board have any issues with the 20-foot gravel road going 500 and some odd feet to the lot in the back?
I mean, if it's frontage for one lot, that's one thing. If it's
Yeah.
gonna be frontage for 3 lots, then it's gonna be more issues to
It's a
think about.
different issue.
It's a different issue, but also, correct me if I'm not wrong, common driveway laws, you can't put 3 houses on a common driveway.
Yep,
And this is
for 3-acre lots, yeah.
for retreat lots.
Yeah, that's it's basically a
3-acre lot,
Yeah.
right.
So there's kind of a trade-off on the way the bylaw works as to
It's for
density versus road construction. And retreat lots have got obviously a much smaller, or much
18.
smaller density for
So
housing
the neighbor street would be a
than a
little,
regular subdivision.
the top of the street.
The regular subdivision is 60,000 square foot lots, the retreat lots are 120,000.
Okay, that one's box.
I mean, that's,
But my point is, you can still have 3 retreat lots on one common driveway. Would this be kind of the similar, if, like right now, he's asking for 1, but we gotta take into consideration the other 2 that might also, because if they have the, 60,000 square feet, then they can become 2 more house lots on the same road.
I mean, if he's coming in as a Form C subdivision and you want to do a 20-foot wide way, gravel way, you'd need to request a waiver of the subdivision rules and regulations. And the board would have to consider that, whether they want to do that or not.
Those other 2 lots, neither of them are 60,000 square feet.
They're not.
No, they're both undersized.
But could you combine them and put a house there?
That I don't
New law
know.
coming in might
Which
change all
probably
of
won't
that.
be done.
There's another street.
New law's gonna
between
change
the two
all of that.
separates the two,
That's
so I don't
gonna,
think
that
we
would be
combine.
meaningless.
Now, when that little law goes, if
That's
that's,
another whole, I mean,
Right.
there's probably an evening's worth of discussion based on this KP Law E update that we just got.
Yeah.
In terms of grandfathered lots, in terms of accessory dwelling units. So what that says, again, on the surface, is that anytime we create a lot, you can actually end up with 2 dwelling units on that lot. Because accessory dwelling units are, and I'm just finding this out tonight, are going to be allowed as of right in any single-family residential district.
As
So-
long as the original owner lives there.
No.
Doesn't the
No.
original
No,
owner
no,
have
no,
to
it just
live on the
got
property?
passed.
No, there's
This is
new laws
something new
now.
the state just.
Well, my assumption with that law was that the original owner has to live in that square footage. You can have a carriage house that can be converted into an apartment. But the original owner has to live in somewhere on the property.
They're
Under
they're looking
occupancy,
to.
it's
The
not.
they're
state,
looking to
we're
create that.
we're a little bit early, or
Yeah.
we're going to be grasping for how this whole thing is going to end up.
Mhm.
But the way I read our update on impending legislation, as of, let's see, February 2nd, 2025, accessory dwelling units are going to be governed by state law, not by local law.
okay, before we dive into that, let's take care of Mr. Romanelli. Is there any questions that you have that you might not have gotten answered tonight?
I don't think so, but I know the most important thing is we're gonna have Ben get let's get a letter from a lawyer.
You need something,
You need legal
yeah,
access,
something from a lawyer saying, this case law that says that he has right or whatever, and then, if there's an abutter that wants to challenge that, then that's up to the abutter to take it into civil court. As long as this board has something, from, in the legal standing, saying that he has a right to update and use that as is, and create frontage on that, then that would go a long way with us. Everything else, I think you, as an engineer that you are, you know what you need to do as far as Form C subdivision, and that.
Very good.
He's gonna have to verify that he's got the right
Yes.
to construct that improved road, if you will, and run utilities up the road.
Yeah, there is town water on Nice Lane.
Mhm.
Well, he's gotta run electricity if nothing else.
Right.
So, we don't want to get in the middle of some firefight between abutters to that road, as we have had on other proposals.
But again, that's not for us to decide who has the right to use that road. That's for the proponents to take it into land court. But as long as we have something that states you have the right to use it,
Very good. Thanks for the input.
and again, folks, just so you know, they're gonna do their work, and then nothing's gonna happen at all out there until you get notified. They'll come back in front of us, and we'll start this again from scratch.
Thank you so very much.
Is there any way I could get a copy of that?
I'm gonna give you this one right here if you want it.
Oh, no, I don't want that one, but I just want a copy of it.
Yeah,
It's a beautiful
John,
color.
Oh, I
John,
understand
John,
that. No, I just want a copy, please.
There's a few extras if they need
Yeah.
more.
Okay.
Oh, I'll take one.
Thank you.
I've got little ones.
I can approach my neighbors and let them know what's going on.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, give it
And
to
I
your
thank
neighbor.
you so very
I
much.
can talk with Lucy, let Lucy know, because she should be able to.
She's in the butter.
Yeah,
I can give you a couple of cards and if you really have some questions.
okay, thank you,
Thank you so very much.
thank you.
Now, just out of curiosity, somebody else came in front of us a few months back regarding this exact same lot. I forget the gentleman's name. Are you affiliated with him at all?
No. No affiliation. I was in talks with the owner about the lot, but he didn't mention anything about it having been in front of the board previously.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, somebody did. Yeah,
Somebody was here.
Somebody was in front of the board for that.
Really?
Yeah,
There was somebody here that wanted to know the
He wanted
exact same
info.
thing you asked us
Yeah.
regarding that exact same lot.
You don't remember who it was?
His name's in the minutes. I want to say Brandon something. I can send you the minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, nobody that I mean, maybe it's someone that I happen to know from town, but not
no,
affiliated at all.
I think he lives in Lakeville and he was thinking about moving to Acushnet and he wanted information whether or not it would be worth his while to buy that piece of land. And he didn't have anything mapped out or anything like you guys did, but he was just basically came in here for an informal meeting, asking us questions about the exact same lot. I was just curious if you were related or anything.
Yeah, no affiliation.
Okay, all right, very good. You
All right,
good?
great, thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You're
You're
welcome.
very welcome, thank you.
Nice to meet you all. Okay, bye.
Thank
All right, you're very welcome, thank you. Good night. All right, moving on, town planners update.
Hi, so
Thank
for the
you.
no problem. Victoria Alfaro, town planner. So KP Law sent out this update with some relevant changes that came through for the Affordable Homes Act that the governor signed into law recently. So important things to note for the planning board specifically is the section for accessory dwelling units, which as Rick was saying earlier, will make accessory apartments, or accessory dwelling units rather, by right in all single-family residential districts. So it is important to note that this doesn't take effect until February 2nd, 2025, and that the board may want to consider amending our accessory apartment bylaw, and doing something that mirrors the state law with, additional, restrictions that the board desires. Something else that's of importance is that the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, State Department, they were authorized through this act to develop guidelines or regulations to govern this paragraph. So there very well could be more implications or more, guidelines about how we move forward with this. But there's no information out there right now to say whether or not EOHLC is going to do that. So this is the latest information we have at the time. So I just wanted to bring that forward to the board and get your thoughts.
So I guess my first question is, special town meeting date? Like, how long do we got to,
I think it's September 30th. I think it's really early
Yeah,
this year, and I don't think that's
I don't think we
enough
have time for the fall meeting, and I think Victoria's right, I think it's end of September, early October is the next meeting, and we don't have enough time to get this going for that, but I think that we should definitely get the ball rolling and get ready for the spring meeting, and have something to amend the bylaw and have something ready in case the state takes years to get their act together. At least we have something in our bylaw.
That's a point well taken.
Yeah.
Not that the state would take years to do
No, they
anything.
wouldn't take years to do anything, but at least we would be covering ourselves with any type of, guidelines or restrictions that we would maybe want for our town. But, that would go through the same, we'd have to have public hearings, we'd have to, we'd get input from the town and the board on what kind of,
Is an accessory dwelling unit going to be a separate, or should I say, could it possibly be a separate freestanding
yes,
structure?
Yes.
attached or detached. They did not
Okay.
limit. It has to be.
So, to me, one of the biggest implications is every time we create a lot for a house, we're creating
potentially
a
for
lot
two?
for two.
But they still gotta meet setbacks and everything else, depending on the size of the lot and wherever it's at. They still have some guidelines, it's just not a
Yeah, but
free
it's a
for all.
75 feet of frontage, it's a 10,000 square foot lot.
Yep.
That's it.
and as of right now, it can only be a certain percentage size of the existing dwelling now.
Correct.
Would
It's,
that still stay in existence? I think it's 25%. You can't be bigger than 25% of the house that's there now.
So it does change the definition of accessory dwelling unit. So it says in here that it could be half the gross floor area of the principal dwelling or 900 feet, whichever is smaller.
Mhm.
So that's the restriction on that.
The maximum 900 square feet.
So that means if you've got a single-family house that's 2 stories, now they can actually make it into a 2-family. Is that what we're also saying?
Or I put a separate structure on the,
Right,
On
I
the
get
lot.
that. Somebody's in a garage, I'm gonna put a second floor on my garage,
Yep.
and I'm gonna make it into a dwelling.
Yep.
you can do.
But what I'm saying is, if you got a 2-story house, it's a single family right now, it's more or less the same thing. Now I can make that single, a family dwelling,
You
and
can make it a
multi-family.
two-family, you can make it a
now.
two-family dwelling, yeah. That's the way I look at
Yep.
that.
It's like,
Yeah, I don't know, I'd have to read. This is a condensed version from KP Law that they basically gave us on the town to read up at the latest changes. I'm sure that the law that's actually up in Boston is a little bit more detailed than this, I'm hoping.
Sometimes it's not, sometimes
not.
it's, sometimes it's very
It's not.
general, and they
It's
leave it up
not.
to others to
That's
come
it
up with
right there?
final regulations.
This is it. This is accessory apartment. This is common ownership. So it's really not that extensive, and I think, just, me reading this, I have a bunch of questions on it as well. I think that's why they authorize EOHLC to develop guidelines and regulations, because this is kind of sparse.
Yeah.
So it doesn't give a lot of direction for communities on what we can
So-
and can't regulate.
My question would be, do we need to get something in place prior to February 25?
It's going to be, it'll be
Oh.
superseded.
Whatever they
It's gonna
say
be
will supersede us.
Anyway.
No, but we're allowed to put some guideline, some things in place, right?
Yes, you are.
I mean, we gotta you can't get too carried away to make it impossible to do, just like,
Exactly,
it's gonna fall
exactly.
just like the solar fields, right? You
Yeah.
can't make it impossible for somebody to
Exactly.
put something in place. However, we should be able to get some guidelines in place.
Yeah.
I think it did say there's something about short-term rentals. All
Yeah,
that
you
stuff
can look
should
at
be, needs to be in our bylaw, because what
Correct.
happens after February,
It just goes to
it
state
may,
law.
we might have a more difficult time doing it, is
Yes.
what was my fear.
You're absolutely correct. It will, so this will supersede what we have in place. So our accessory apartment bylaw will be irrelevant. So if we don't have anything in place with additional, short-term rental restrictions, anything like that, we only have this to work with. So if we don't get the bylaw change in before February 2nd, we have to use this.
So can we, let's just, a hypothetical, if we decided that it cannot be a freestanding building, that it had to be attached somehow,
You can't restrict that.
because it's already in here.
It's
Yeah.
But they do
I mean,
mention, things about short-term rentals
Yep,
and
you can
and things
restrict
like
that.
that inside of here. But if it's not in our bylaw,
Yep.
it's a free-for-all.
You can't require more than one parking space.
Yep.
So that's in there, so you can't restrict parking. Which I know parking isn't really restricted anyways, it says like character of the premises or something like that.
But I think if I read it correctly, though, it was you can't require more than one parking space if you're within a half a mile of the train station.
So actually, half a mile, the way I read it was half a mile within a train station, bus stop, any kind of transportation, no parking requirement. If you're not within half mile, one parking space requirement. That's the way.
So that's
I read it.
backwards.
So if you're within, because
If you're
they
within
want to
a
promote
bus station
transportation.
or whatever, you don't need a parking spot. If you're outside of that mile,
You need a
you need a
yes,
parking
Parking
spot.
half mile. Yeah.
So they can at least walk to a bus stop. or a
Right, they're
train
trying to
station.
promote public transportation.
Yep.
Is the housing for the elderly bus, is that a bus? That will access every lot in town. No, I'm just,
I think
I gotta
that's-
ask the question.
I'm not sure, it says bus stop, I'm not sure.
Every stop is a bus stop in town. You just, if you're elderly, you
Oh,
call,
it's
you
a
you just call up.
direct service. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think that would.
No, I don't think that'll.
Yeah, I think it means like actual like bus stop.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it means that too, but.
just throw a thing out there.
Because that's what I think, doesn't
Yeah,
mean
yeah.
that's the way it's gonna end up.
Well, I definitely think that this is something that we should start putting some thought into. And again, great that we have a town planner to start kind of getting this ball rolling in
Oh,
that
absolutely.
general direction. And this is not the last we will be discussing.
If you could email me, all the members actually, a
Oh,
copy of that,
Yeah,
plus a copy of the bylaw as it exists today.
sure.
Very good.
and then
Good
we
idea.
can compare the two.
I think there's not a lot there, if I remember correctly.
There's not.
And it's a ZBA thing too, actually.
Correct, it is a ZBA by special permit only. It's like a little paragraph in
Yep.
there. So I think if we do start to develop something, it would be good to just keep them in the loop.
Oh, absolutely, yes,
You know, same thing with probably building commissioner, you know, other kind of stakeholder
Yes,
groups
yes,
we'd want to
yes.
involve.
yes. Okay.
Boy, it's nice having somebody that knows.
Oh, is it?
Or can do a little bit of legwork.
Oh,
Yeah, and just.
Maybe look at it during the day.
Research the fact that.
Not just before supper or something like that.
Right, understood.
I guess the other thing is just to research that if we do not do anything before this thing gets enacted, can we do anything after that?
Yes,
Oh, sure.
yes, that's a definite yes.
That's a definite, we can, okay.
Just
And
that
if you do
after that
something,
date, we
if you
gotta
do
follow the
something-
rules.
and if you-
Exactly.
And if you do something today that's contrary to the state revision of the bylaw, plus anything that this board comes up with as additional use requirements, well then, it doesn't mean anything either.
Exactly, this will just supersede it.
So, yeah, I mean, it's good to start to discuss it, but I wouldn't get too carried away with it,
Well,
because
it's
we
like
don't know
you
what they're gonna do.
Again, this gets implemented in February, but they might not come up with anything for years.
Oh, no, I
Exactly.
understand.
That's where we would
Almost
put in
like-
our own until they actually do come up with something, we'll
Oh,
put
no,
in
I
our
mean,
own.
they can do it, it's
Right.
basically after,
I kind of compared
whatever,
to.
they can,
Yeah.
you can go for a permit between February and the time of we get a next bylaw and just go with that. That's
Right.
basically what's in place.
Exactly,
That's how it's law.
yeah,
It's not, it's already been, they gave it a date and when it takes effect.
right.
So it is law.
So our bylaw stays in until this takes effect in February.
Right.
Yeah,
So and then even if our town meeting is after February, we can still add to this.
Sure.
Yep, as
can
long as
add
you're
to-
not, like, I think
But
the wording
meantime,
is
it-
unreasonably restricting, you
Right.
know.
in the meantime, somebody wants to come in between February and our next, you know,
They go by
amendments,
this.
They go by this and
Yep.
then they've got, they can do it, they can't be denied the permit.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean,
It's all the rest of setbacks and things. It's got
setbacks
this
and
setback.
building density are the easiest way
Yeah,
to regulate things like that.
Yeah.
And you certainly can come up with regulations that make it impossible to put another structure on there or an accessory.
right. We can't make it impossible.
I mean, they're going to continue to have problems, at least in this town, with septic system capacity. You know,
Right.
you just can't add bedrooms to your house in town without getting through the Board of
Oh,
Health.
Right, so I
absolutely.
think that in and of itself limits
A lot of
how,
people.
right, like how, is
It's-
someone gonna wanna upgrade their whole septic system and pay to put in this stuff, you know what I mean? So I think,
Right.
I think there's a lot of factors that sort of go into this, cause even with the special permit bylaw, you know, I don't think you guys permit more than, or ZBA permits
There
more
haven't
than
been,
two.
there
on-
haven't been many
two per year on
requests up to
average.
this point.
Exactly, so, you know, it's, so there are other, you know, factors in place, you know.
Okay.
Do we have any, what do we have for actual bona fide bus stops in town?
That I don't know off the top of my
Yeah.
head.
No, I would say, let's take a look at it and see, I mean,
Still
all-
adding,
all I
right
know
down
is
the
that-
street over here.
there is a formal bus stop at the top of Peckham Road, which is in New Bedford, but certainly it would affect, it could affect housing on Blueberry Drive and the other roads that are going on back there.
Yeah,
Well, as far as parking is concerned, yes. That's doing.
Well, I mean, and that's got sewer,
Yep.
so, you know, it's possible you could have an accessory dwelling unit on every one of those lots.
And we've got
Because
some
they hook up
good
to sewer.
sized lots.
They have
with
hookup to sewer,
within
you
the
know.
district. There's some
but,
good sized lots.
and if they're within a half a mile of a bus stop, which they may very well be, I don't know, haven't scaled it out, then there's not much that they're gonna have to do to put accessory dwelling units on every lot.
There used to be
If
a
they
bus
wanted
stop
to, if
right
the
over
owners
the top
wanted
of,
to.
right by the captain's place. There used to be a
Oh,
bus
really?
stop over there.
I never see one come by there.
No.
Yeah, it's been a while. I think it's
Yeah.
probably gone, but
Yeah, I don't
there used to
think
be.
there's
There used to be one up over there, right there, either right on the top of Slocum Street or right in front of, by the captain's place,
Yeah.
but there was a bus stop.
I think there used to be a bus that went through into town, into the center
Yeah,
of
at one
town,
time there was.
somewhere, somehow.
Yep.
Well, I'm sure we'll be discussing this
And,
quite in
The
depth for quite some time.
the merger thing can have a big effect on buildable lots also.
Yes.
That's going to be another interesting one. It will no longer be as difficult to show that you have a grandfathered lot. And if you bought two of them side by side,
Yep.
it's not going to make any difference anymore.
So that would be two side by side that becomes one,
No. you do
Well, not as
So
of
they're
February 2nd,
unmerged.
2025.
unmerging.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like they merged it a long time ago. They merged like it's called common ownership. They merged them. So now they're gonna be separate again. But I think like if somebody, if they were already merged and somebody put like a garage in the middle of those two lots, like I imagine they can't separate that back out with a structure in the middle of the lot line.
But do they automatically become unmerged, or do they just, or they will allow you to unmerge them?
There's a lot of court cases out there relative to when the lots truly become merged
Right.
and they don't. If they were, well,
In the town, though, it's
I'm looking
8
at, I
years.
just look at it at tax purposes, so if somebody's got two lots, they think they got one, they're paying one, it used to be two lots.
I imagine they're gonna get their taxes are gonna go.
After 8
I-
years of common ownership, it dissolves.
Yeah.
Say that again?
After if you own two separate lots,
Yeah.
side by side,
Yeah.
after 8 years of common ownership, that line dissolves.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
what
but
they're
now
saying the unmerging is.
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Yeah.
Now they can
By
unmerge
require-
that. Now they can say, no, now I'm two separate again. The line is now back.
This is also in single family residential.
Right.
There's al-
And there would have to have been two originally, so somebody can't create two from one.
No, but if
There
you
was
had two lots.
originally,
Right.
years ago.
Yes.
Right, you just happen to have them, but say on the two lots, your house is on the one lot, okay, over here.
Yeah.
After 8 years, that line goes away, just dissolves, okay, it's all one now. But what they're saying now is now you're gonna be able to unmerge it, you still got this house, but now you're gonna be able to build on this
Right.
10,000 square foot lot.
And
I
then,
highly doubt that to what you're saying, that's the point I was getting at, it was that it is, I don't think it's just gonna automatically unmerge it, but you can probably
But a person could unmerge it.
unmerge it, because other than that, people are gonna be screaming, because now you got two tax bills, now you got two house lots.
Right, I'm not saying we're gonna
Be
force it, but if the
flipping out.
owner came in and said, yes, I wanna unmerge this,
I don't think you would have to go through anything to unmerge them.
merge it, that's what I'm,
It's saying that adjacent lots under common ownership shall not be treated as a single lot for local zoning purposes. And this is if at the time of recording or endorsement, there's a couple stipulations about the size and frontage. And then they also stipulate that any single family structure on that lot shall not exceed 1,850 square feet and has to be at least 3 bedrooms. So they're really
And-
trying to promote housing.
Another interesting thing
I thought
that's
that
going to
was
develop
interesting
over the
to
next
run.
5 to 10 years.
Oh, yeah,
Yep, so.
yeah, that's it.
As towns start to become increasingly restrictive, no doubt you're going to see another version go through the State House to undo that.
now you take all those lots up in the back here that might be vacant little lots,
That's what I'm saying. it's
they're
not-
all something now.
Yep.
Especially you got water up in here. You got water, you got sewer, you got everything you need.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on real quick. Not much to move on to. We don't have any other business that came in within the last 48 hours. And our next meeting is Thursday, September 5th.
Yeah, we'll be able to make that one, but the 19th one, I will not be able to make that
And
one.
thank you.
So I'll be here for the 5th. The Lord willing, but the 19th, I will.
Okay.
Rick willing.
Rick Willett. Is there anything else anybody would like to discuss? Okay, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.